I guess my question to you is, are you aware that this system of hierarchy, whereas God's above man, man is above woman, and women are under children, are you aware that that is ominously similar to the racist Veda caste system that was established in the Aryan aspects of India after the 15th century BC, where the new Indians established that the fair skin, the more fair skin you are, the Brahmins are closest to God, and the Sudras, being dark pigmented people, are under God. So my first question to you is: one, are you aware that you establishing a system of hierarchy is ominously linked to a racist system of hierarchy through the Vedic caste system of India? And two, are you aware that when you make statements like women are helpmates, are you aware that that statement is only as valuable as it goes as its origin in history, which is very young? That's a Judeo-Christian ideology that women are helpmates. And what I would say is your great grandmother was not a helpmate. She was a sovereign queen mother, very likely. So I'm not. So once again, my question: are you aware that the statements that you're making are confined and bound by Judeo-Christian ideology, which is very young?
Okay, so once again, you're asking me a question. Am I aware of history?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing I did with you before, and let's see if this history that you just stated actually is logical and makes sense. We're going to walk through it again, brother. We're going to walk through it again.
How did you just say it doesn't make sense? Like,
Real quick. You stated something, and we're going to see if your history actually makes sense.
Okay.
So you said that, am I aware of all of these things and how, the God over man, man over woman, woman over children, how this was, brought about with some races and stuff like that, meaning that it's lies. It's just an ideology. It holds no reality. So you're saying that it doesn't hold any reality, pretty much. That's what you're saying. So now what is logic? Reality. We're going to see if God over man, man over woman, woman over children holds any reality. Who do you think can lead better? God or man?
I'd say God leads better.
God leads better. Got it. Who do you think generally leads better? Man or women?
And all
generally as a whole, we know that there are outliers. It could be a She-Hulk that was slapping people around, but generally, you know what general means?
Yeah.
The overall majority, the majority.
Yeah. I would say that generally speaking, confident masculine men are more equipped to lead.
Got it. You see the order already? Who do you think generally can lead better, women or children?
In most cases, women. Not all
women.
cases.
You just confirmed the order right there, bro. You sound like one of these chicks that I have on a podcast that I got to walk them through the logic. God over man because God can lead better than men. Generally, it's only one God. Man over women because man can lead better than women. Generally. So there's that there. Then there's women over children because children don't know anything. They don't have any experiences. Women can lead better than children. So that's the order, brother. So what you just said based off of some racist system is nonsensical and it is a lie, which proves that the books that you're reading is false. It's pseudoscience. What I am speaking is reality. It is facts. Rooted in our biology, brother.
Can I touch on that real quick?
Touch on it, man. No diddy, though.
No. So what I can say is, like, when you say God over man, you're speaking, once again, with due respect, you're speaking from a Judeo-Christian ideology where God's a man, probably a man sitting on the chair and da-da-da.
No, man. God is not bound by time, space, or matter. Okay, so God is
let me ask you this.
A higher power.
When we talk about God, is there any place for a woman to be seated on that iconography as God or the Almighty One? In your opinion, does woman have a place in that icon?
Wait, what do you repeat your question? I don't understand what you mean.
When we're talking about God, when we're saying God over man, in your perspective, God means man, right?
No, God doesn't mean man.
So why is God not feminine? Why is God not equally masculine and feminine? Why is God over man mean that women are not there? Because I want to challenge that.
Who said women are not there? I didn't say that.
Well, you said God over man. So in God. So now my question to you is: you see this hierarchy up here, where God is man and woman both in that circular box, or is is masculine and feminine energy in that box, or is there only masculine energy?
So yeah, when you're speaking about masculine, the question that you're asking, I have to break it down.
No, just try to keep it simple. Man is in that box of God. Is it man God or man woman God or woman God or what is, or is it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You're saying things that just isn't true to me. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so I'll expound on what I mean. Okay, God isn't bound by time, space, or matter. If you're talking about the Abrahamic faith, you may be talking about Jesus, Muhammad, the prophets, stuff like that. We could say that, Jesus was the spirit of God was in a human body. So that's Jesus. But when we're speaking about God, God isn't bound by time, space, or matter. So God isn't a man or a woman. God made us in his image, right? But he's not an actual man or a woman.
I understand.
The differences of masculine and femininity, I would say that to break that down even further, so generally, men embody masculine traits because their biology. They higher in testosterone. Women are higher in estrogen, so they have more feminine traits. Men are more non-agreeable. Women are more agreeable. So masculine men, when they naturally embody their biological traits, it's called masculine. It's like a personality that they embody. When women embody their natural feminine traits, it's called femininity. And these two things come together, which it's a union. It clicks well. A masculine man and a feminine woman, opposites attract. This is why those relationships work the best. Now, it doesn't mean that a man can't embody some feminine traits if he was raised in a single mother household, or if he was raised in a culture where it's more feminized. For sure, his biology is telling him to be more masculine, but which is nature is telling him to be more masculine, but nurture, which is his circumstances, how he was being raised, and what influenced him is telling him to be more feminine, and vice versa, meaning that a woman can embody some more feminine traits. So you're trying to say God here, does God have masculine and feminine traits? I would say that's nonsensical, because the God that I believe in isn't bound by time, space, or matter. Human beings embody these things. I would say that what God's nature is, would be a little bit more different, because man came from God. Man was here first, and then from man came the woman. So with that being said, can we really say that God actually embodies the femininity too? I would say this: men create. Women just bring about the process of life, but everything that you're seeing and touching, 99% of it created by men. The seed is planted into the woman to then bring about the life of a kid. So the creation starts with the man. So if our human minds can only conceive, and we would say that God is a man or God is masculine, because men create and God is the creator. This is why we perceive that God is a man. But the God that I believe in, I don't say that he's a man. He's not bound by time, space, or matter. He's in it, around it, through it. He's beyond all of these things that we can conceive of. So that's my answer for you.
Awesome. I don't think you need to really go too deep into a response. But what I can say is that I appreciate your answer. But why I'm asking that is because I believe I heard you suggest something of the nature that you're a man of faith. So I'm going to assume that in some capacity there's some spectrum of or denomination of Christianity or Catholicism or Judaism in some capacity that you follow. Why I'm suggesting that is because in these
no, I've never said that. So your suggestion is wrong.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Pass it out. So what I can say is in these ideologies, because what I can say is this whole concept of women being a helpmate, that does come from Judeo-Christianity. And what I can say is that in this ideology, we always hear about Father God, Father God, Father God. There's no room for women. But what I would argue is, once again, this is another young foreign ideology. When you look at the oldest system of cosmology known to man, the oldest system of theology known to man, known as the Memphite theology, which origins dates back to 4,100 years before Jesus, what you see is that in their text and in their expression of how the universe was created, what they suggest, and their narrative that was told orally initially suggested that creation, even before creation existed, was birthed out of the feminine primordial body of water known as the Great Noon. This body of water could very similarly be referred to or similar, paralleled to the symbiotic water and fluid in our mother's wombs. So what I can say is, before foreign colonial ideology, we saw creation before creation, before existence even came into being, birthed out of the primordial waters of Noon, which is a feminine body of water. So unless you have some aspect of history or unless you have something to suggest that's either historically or factually or logically inaccurate, or that is just pseudoscience, as you suggest, what I would say is, once again, there is a vast amount of time that dwarfs what we're dealing with right now.
So real quick, are you saying that women is our God?
What I'm saying is that the oldest system of theology and the oldest high culture that has reigned in the most successful high culture was built on the foundation of a theological and a cosmological system, which shows that before creation was created and before existence existed, all matter was born out of what's known as the primordial chaotic waters of infinite potentiality, the bottomless waters of Noon. And science shows that just as there is a parallel between a sacred geometrical pattern in which the flower of life or the Genesis pattern is created, there is a parallel between that and the process of mitosis and embryogenesis that occurs in our mother's womb. So what I'm trying to say is, when we talk about God, when we talk about this and this, I'm not hearing enough representation, and I think it's quite disingenuous. And I think we would be doing our daughters a disservice by not talking about this. How can we not talk about the parallels between creation and between how matter is created and how our children are born? So that's what I would say.
Okay, man. I'll ask the question again. What you said, you're pretty much saying that God, right? The creation, how things were created, since women have this symbiotic fluid in them, and this symbiotic fluid was found historically in all creation, are you essentially saying that God is a woman?
What I'm saying is, I would use the word androgynous, and I wouldn't leave the woman out, and I wouldn't leave the man out. But to suggest,
you would say that it was.
What to suggest that creation happened.
So let me ask you a question.
1 second, please. 10 seconds, please, if you don't mind.
You've been going on a rant. I need to get some clarity real quick.
Go ahead, my bad.
Are you saying that androgynous, meaning that God is man and woman, so who did God create first, the man or the woman?
I would argue the woman.
Got it. So God created the woman first.
Correct.
And then from the woman came, how did the man come about?
Very good question. So I can't factually give you a source to confirm what I'm saying, but this is a theory.
I'm sure you can't.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
This is a theory. And what the leading theory shows is that there is a process that, as of right now, the botanical world and the plant kingdom reenacts. And that process is what's known as Parthenogenesis.
Time out. Stop right there. I knew this where it was going because I debated other male feminists like you prior to it, that the debates went crazy viral. Parthenogenesis. This is the process of asexuality, meaning that you can bring about life without two counterparts. So Parthenogenesis is, do you know currently that it's a small, rare case that it forms in humans currently today as tumors?
You're asking me if I knew that?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Got it. So I want you to do that research. So parthenogenesis, this is what I'm trying to tell you. What you're speaking about, I've done research on. And what you're speaking about in parthenogenesis, that you're speaking pseudoscience. It's not real science. There's only a few things, chimpanzees and honey cape bees or cape honeybees are asexual, and then it's 5 different mammals, let's say, that actually can reproduce asexually without a male sex counterpart. So when it occurs in humans, the same parthenogenesis process, it creates tumors in the testicles for men, and it creates tumors in the vaginal of women. And it's a very, very rare scenario, like 0.1% of someone would, have the trait of parthenogenesis, and that tumor will build there. So what you're speaking about is pseudoscience, and it isn't true. So man didn't come from a woman. There's not anything on this planet that started with a womb first. Everything on this planet that we see has started with a seed first, and men hold that seed. Men, we hold that life form.
Correct.
You don't get no apple tree if you don't plant an apple seed. You don't get no orange tree unless you plant an orange seed. You don't get a male or a female unless that man plants his seed into a woman, because men even dictate the sex of the baby. Women don't dictate the sex of the baby. We got that in us. You got that in you, Jaden. That comes from you. So you talking about we'll be doing our daughters a disservice about not telling them things. What you will be telling them is the real disservice, because it's false. Our daughters and women need to know to respect men, because if you do not respect men, how you going to respect God?
Got it. So what I can
because
say
that's where it comes down from, which you have admitted to. That's the process of life. God over man, man over woman, woman over children. Once you try to once you did admit that.
You're right.
It's going to be a clip of this. I'll have my boy Steve clip it up where you'll look foolish, where you've admitted to that that's the order of life. Because I'm using logic and I'm testing you with logic instead of testing you with all of these books that you read, which is nonsensical. It doesn't add up to our biology, man. Okay. But listen, man, I'll leave you with your ending statement, because we got to go ahead and end the stream because we got a lot of super chats too. So real quick, I'll leave you with your ending statement. It could go on 4 minutes max. You could get it all out, whatever you want to say. But then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get to the super chats. Hey, chat, anyone that wants to send in a chat, Jaden, are you good to stay around for the super chats or no?
Yeah, I can say
okay. Jaden said he'll stay around for the super chat. So if you have any questions for Jaden, go ahead and send in the super chat. It could be $1, $5, $10, whatever you want. We'll get to the super chats. But go ahead and Jaden. The floor is yours.
All right, awesome, thanks. The first thing that I want to say is I take pride in not associating myself with the word pseudoscience. Reason being is because anything that I say, as the scholars like Ivan Vance or Tima and Alexander von Wutenhauer suggested, shouldn't be said without 3 or 4 sources to back it up. And you don't see what's in front of me, but I got about 15 books and a lot of different pieces of antiquity to back up what I'm saying, but I'm not going to bore the chat with all that history. So what I can say is that, once again, it's very convenient to throw words like pseudoscience around when it's very clear you haven't looked into aspects of, or enough aspects of, anthropology and paleontology to know that the first record of human life and the first instance and glimpse of human life, if we want to talk about, who came first, comes out of Tanzania, which is one of the mountains of the moons in Kilimanjaro, as I said. And those footprints are close to 8 million years old, and they date back to what's known as the Pliocene era. You learn this in Civilization or Barbarism by Shikanthia, arguably the most historical and the most, prominent African scholar, who proved that Egyptians were black at UNESCO in the 1970s. In this literature, if everyone did their homework, what we'll find is that the hominids, the first Australopithecines, Australopithecus ramidus, Australopithecus robustus, and this ancestor, whose footprints were found and skeletal remains were found that are over 8 million years old, was a woman. So if anyone wants to disprove that, or if anyone wants to start throwing actual paleontology, actual looking at the fossils, looking at their wombs, and have the conversation, we can have the conversation. And I understand if we haven't done that homework and we can't source the timelines of the birth and development of humanity, but I have, and I can, and I will throw these dates at you, and I will wait for somebody to come and tell me that, the first fossil that was found in Tanzania, which coincides with what the Papyrus of Hunifer says, which coincides with anthropology, which coincides with the topography of the continent, it all points to the fact that that skeleton, which is the oldest skeleton we found so far, and we talk about pseudoscience, right? I want to make mention that in certain pieces of literature, once again, going back to Dr. Benjamin Yosef Inakinan, one of the founding fathers and scholars whose name we should all know, and whoever in the chat has an opinion, go do some work about Dr. Ben. So we would know if we read his literature that these individuals all came from the same place, and they all point to the fact that it was from the center of Africa. And these bones show that these were women. So I understand pseudoscience and all that kind of stuff, but like this is just what's so. And I understand that it might be convenient to overlook things, but until we can really dig deep and have those like really real conversations, and we can look at the fact that who was it? I believe it was the University of California in maybe 1915 of some sort, when dating certain things. I'm not an expert on carbon dating, but what I can say is once you start dating things over 200 to 250,000 years, borderline ballpark, carbon dating method is no longer the most successful, accurate method. The bones that I'm talking about were dated via potassium argon method, done by universities, not done by Hotep brothers and people who are talking pseudoscience. I've spent and I've dedicated an extraordinary and an immeasurable amount of time looking into these things. As it stands, I understand that everyone has opinions. I can't identify one thing you've been able to disprove happened. When I talk about Queen Hatshepsut and her expeditions across Punt, Somaliland, and all that, I haven't seen that disproved. When I talk about Queen Zinga fighting for 40 years to defend Africa from Portugal, not disproved. When I talk about Queen Candace of the Black African Morodic Sudanese queen who defended the Nile Valley from Alexander the Great, not disproved. Or when I talk about Queen Tayi, the mother of Akhenaten, not disproved. When I talk about Queen Amos Nefertari, 400 years before Abraham, not disproved. So I welcome everyone's opinions, but until someone can actually show me that I'm wrong without saying pseudoscience, we'll have to arrive at an impasse, and I'm happy to do so because this has been a privilege.
Got it. All right, Jaden, thank you for your closing statement there, man. I'm going to just say my last closing statement, too. I disproved all of the things that you've just stated with mere knowledge and logic. I walked you through the logic. You've actually admitted and accepted the logic that I walked you through and confirmed yourself that men are better leaders. And men should be in leadership. You also confirmed the order of life: God over man, man over woman, woman over children. So I do have actually two more quick questions for you because I'm curious myself, right? And then we'll get to the super chat. Sorry, chat. I got two more quick questions for him. Were you raised by your mother? By just your mother?
I was raised by my mother, grandmother, and two uncles.
Okay, so you were raised by your mother and your grandmother, and your father. Where was your father at?
My father was in my life full time until about maybe I would say, if my memory serves me properly, close to grade 1. Then I wasn't around my father from grade 1 until grade 8, and then my father was in my life regularly. I sought him out because I understand the value in a father, and I took the time to go establish a relationship with my father. As of right now, I have a phenomenal relationship with my father. I seek his advice when I need it. I respect the fact that it came from his seed. And I can call him right now if need be. Got it.
So you were primarily raised by your mother and your grandmother.
Correct.
Okay. And then my next question for you, is very simple, and try to make it a concise answer, if you can. If women are so great, how did they fall so low?
Because the world, over arguably 1,192 years, made it their mission to undergo the necessary campaigns, coalitions, and genocides to destroy Black civilization. Once again, Dr. Chancellor Williams...
Wait. We're just speaking about women.
Yeah, women are part of the culture, right? Women are part of the society. Would you say civilization and women are part of a civilization?
Got it. So my question is, if women are so great, how did they fall so low? Meaning that if they were leading and men was following, how did the pendulum shift? And now is men leading and women is following? Wouldn't you say that the only way it could shift is if men outpowered women? Wouldn't that be the only way?
Ask the question again, please.
Got it. It's logical, man. If women are so great, why did they fall so low? Because They're not leading currently now. The world is ran by a patriarchy, not a matriarchy.
Correct.
Right? So it must have been a shift. Mm-hmm. And in order for that shift to happen, that means that men, the patriarchy, had to take over the matriarchy.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So by default, how is women so great if they fell to men?
Okay.
Isn't it a contradiction?
No, it's not. No, I'll answer with logic.
Okay.
So logically speaking, if I have a drywall here, 2x6 stud, sheetrock drywall, if I take the back of a spoon and I chip at it for a year, a month, I'm going to get through. And the same thing happened with the high culture of Kemet. I would ask you and challenge you and anyone in the chat, give me 10 seconds. I would challenge you or anyone in the chat to show me any other record of any other civilization on this planet known to mankind that underwent almost 1,200 years of a continuous domination, genocides, hordes. And if you can't show me that, then we're
got it. And we don't know. Actually, and that's the thing, Jaden, real quick, right? We don't have anything in history. We can't Google anything. Real quick, man. I mean, you're like the 7th person I've debated on this, right? I've done work, bro. So listen real quick, because I wanted to know if I was wrong or right. This is why I proved your point on Parthenogenesis, that being false. You think I don't know these things? Yeah, I do know this, brother. My podcast is a pretty big platform. So with that being said, I got to know a little bit about something. I can't know nothing. So I've definitely done research. But anyways, I'll do my ending statement because the super chats is piling in, and everyone that has a question for myself or Jaden in regards to this topic, please send in a super chat. I'll get to them. My ending statement is brief. You've been obliterated in this debate. I deem myself as the winner of this debate, clearly. Also, I would say that men like myself is doing women and our daughters a big favor, not a disservice. We are doing them a service, not a disservice. By default, women want a man that can lead. By default, women are physically inferior to men, which means that by default, men need to be in a position to lead and protect women from nature and from themselves and also from the bad men. So my train of thought, people like me, we do women and daughters a service, not a disservice, because without a strong masculine man, the world would be taken over by weak men or by nature, storm, weather, animals, and things like that.
Right now. That's our reality right now.
Well, once again, this is my ending statement, and we'll get to things. But yeah, I would go ahead and end it there. So strong masculine leaders, they do the greatest service to women, children, and to other men, because there are a lot of cowards. There are a lot of men that are susceptible, just like women are susceptible to outside influences. You may need to check on that, Jaden. You're very susceptible to outside influences, meaning that you're looking and you're yearning for some type of thing or ideology to give you purpose. You already have the purpose right now in your nutsack and how your biology is, my brother. You have the purpose in you. You have the purpose. And the life isn't about, you have a very oppression versus oppressor mindset. Life doesn't work like that because the world doesn't owe us understanding. It's up to us to be perspicacious and understand the world ourselves. So the reality of life is competition versus competitor. You need to view yourself as a victor instead of viewing yourself as a victim. The only reason why you took on ideologies like this and information and you actually believe that is true because you need some type of information to make your ego higher, to make you feel worthy, to give you some type of purpose. I'm telling you, you don't need that. It's in you. You were born with the purpose. You need to just understand who you are and act appropriately, bro. I'm telling you, man, it's in you, Jaden. I see you as a young brother and you're seeking truth. You're seeking it. But you're seeking it in ways because the truth that you're getting that's like you're letting certain things influence you because you're susceptible to it, because it's a void missing, because you didn't have your father around. Guess what, Jaden? I can relate to you, brother. My father wasn't around neither. He left me when I was 5. Luckily, I had 3 brothers. Luckily, I had uncles. I ain't have no grandmother or anything around like that. But luckily, I had God that walked me to the path of truth. You get what I'm saying? And I never did certain things. I was always a man. I was never a follower. I never smoked, drink, cuss. I don't do these things since the day I was born. I was always a leader. So it was just in me. Certain males just have it in them. You as a male that maybe didn't have it in you, but you can get it in you. I coach men on this. Dudes click the link in my bio all the time, and I coach them on this. You're walking down a path that it's going to confuse you and manipulate you and cause confusion and destruction in your life. And you can have a better path. When you view the life in reality that life is competition, meaning that you're looking at the world oppressing you and the world oppress women and the world is trying to oppress black people. No, that's just the world. The world is a cruel world. There's evil people. There's bad people. So you need to be the best version you can be and compete. So they don't take over you. So they can't influence your mind and influence your kid's mind. It starts with you. You have everything in you, Jaden. That's my ending statement. We'll get to the super chats. So if you like that clip and you want to watch more, click right here. But if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.